Aliens and Earthlings.
Welcome back to another episode of Smugglers Cove.
I'm Kutzky the Space Pimp.
And I'm Tallboy Tony.
On today's episode, we'll be tackling another segment of Krista Browns' 255 philosophical questions.
Truly inspired questions.
Mm-hmm. From the mind of God. Goddess.
Goddess.
Yes, goddess.
Well, but I mean, in today's culture, you know how they got rid of actress? Like, now you're an actor, everyone's an actor, not an actress.
Isn't that sexist?
Well, I would think, like, actress just sounds that much more elegant. Like, I don't want to call an actress an actor. Like, I understand that they don't like gendered speech, but it's just, like, for one thing, it's more specific. An actress sounds way better. And goddess, that just sounds beautiful. That's something, you know? I just think it's a bit of a whiff.
Throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Well, I mean, what isn't... But women are beautiful. Shouldn't the words we use to describe them be beautiful?
I don't disagree with that.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
So Goddess Krista Brown.
In store for us today, she has a list of philosophical questions regarding space and the universe. So, we will get into that, but first things first.
First things really first. So, dear listeners, and viewers, if you will, I have forever wanted a pipe, and today, Kutzky here gave me a bit of a hand-me-down.
Thank you, Grandpa Willie Bro.
Thank you, sir. And I bought my first pouch of pipe tobacco, and so this is actually a dream hopefully come true right here before your eyes is smoking pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tobacco pipe. Oh, you got to bite down on these if you use a match.
Yes, yeah. Some bozos. So, for me, this is my first time as well, really. It's a little sweet. Tony got a butterscotch flavor.
Technically.
Not officially, of course, because Canada is ultra progressive in their tobacco laws, and we no longer have anything fun like packaging.
Packaging. Yeah, everything's got to relate to cancer.
Mm-hmm. Every kid basically is going to die if they have a prime time, so...
Well, I heard that some people actually start smoking pipes. And I hear that's very common amongst millennials.
So we're at this store today asking Buddy about these different types of pipe tobaccos and trying to get him to help us noobs. And so he was walking the fine line of, well, you know, these aren't flavored, wink wink. And so I reminded Tony that, you know, there's no more prime times anymore, which is what I first smoked when I was a kid. And so he said, oh yeah, you know, we remarked that that's how we started smoking, basically.
Yeah.
And then Tony made the joke that, you know, people probably don't start smoking via a pipe. And this gentleman, being the age that he was, thought that was ridiculous because lots of people come in and they have started smoking.
Yeah, that's the way that they learned, you know? I am okay with this.
Yeah, that is fucking...
That is... You know what?
Mm-hmm.
So that's some good flow.
You got your match, eh?
Yeah. I'm okay with that. Yeah. It's just a nice taste.
Mm-hmm. I was skeptical when you were going flavored, but the texture of that smoke too.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. So, concerning the universe.
Yeah. Back to Earth.
Sorry, dear listeners, viewers even. But, yeah.
You just popped a cherry with us, so forgive our, I don't know, absorption.
Well, for me, like, I'm just...
Enthrallment, entrance.
To me, I'm just really happy that I mean, you too, but I was really nervous that I was going to pack it like shite. So the fact that it's actually lit.
Mine's kind of packed like shit, I would say. I think I didn't go tough enough on the bottom. Story of my life. Think of that thought for about the last 30 seconds here. Alright. Krista Brown has for us, as she always does, just coming out of the gate swinging. Where does the Earth come from? Now,
So,
I don't know if she is asking us earnestly.
yeah, does she mean like a philosophical, like, because to me philosophical is almost, like, especially now with science, right? I think we discussed before, many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
that the Earth was a bunch of space rocks, meteors, if you will,
Yes.
that collided and kept gathering. But where does Earth come from? I think she's kind of leaning towards either like a, do you think it comes from science or from a deity kind of idea?
Basically, she wants us to divide. And, those who think it comes from God stand on one side of the room, and those who don't know but think that they don't want to think that it came from God, you get on the other side of the room. And so we'll have the scientists who don't know what they think they know.
Power.
Yeah. And then the God bothers that also don't really fully know what they think they know. So just two groups of people who don't quite know exactly what they think they know.
Yeah.
I couldn't fully say on this question.
So I'll take lead then.
All right.
One of the things, like, coming to terms with I'll take lead and then proceed to just fucking stamp my pipe. So I think what realistically is, like, if you have a deity, I don't think it came out of like this magical, because in the Bible, right, we have God created the earth, heavens and the earth and whatnot. I don't think it was like a magical swoosh.
Yeah.
I think you had like you had real events that came together. So if those meteorites did crash into one another and compound over millions of years and whatnot and create the core of the earth and so on and so forth, that doesn't seem unlikely to me, because, and just speaking from my own beliefs is what I see in my life as well, and the lives around me, that, and I know people hate this, God works in mysterious ways. He's also in it for the long game. Right? Like, he doesn't need to worry about things like happening real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reason for him to be swooshing things out of nowhere. So I would say that the earth the universe existence comes from a deity. Where does the earth come from? Like, if you're talking in a short timeline, well, then it comes from crashing space rocks.
Yeah.
But in a long term, it comes from a deity with a divine and ever prevalent plan.
Yeah, God made it in paint class. In his art class at UDU, University of the Universe. Yeah, still don't know. Cool.
Well, that's what I
would say there's obviously orchestration here. If like just the simple fact that we breathe out carbon monoxide, the trees breathe in carbon monoxide and release oxygen, and then we breathe in oxygen. Like there's multiple symbiotic relationships that indicate there was some sort of
plan.
Orchestration with this. So it's not just like a clusterfuck, spontaneous, like lucky event that it works the way that it does. So that indicates some sort of pattern and sophistication. Where that sophistication comes from, that basically just makes people touchy.
I think also another indication is that we have only one dominant sentient species. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, to me... Denmark, yeah, that's where everything good came from. Mm-hmm. And everything good goes. It's Denmark.
Well, they are the dominant species. Hmm?
I need to go on tandem and start talking to some Denmark people. But then I'd have to start learning Danish.
I talked to a Denmark person in English. Like, no Danish. Denmark even has English. That's how good Denmark is. Yeah. They got everything and English. What's that?
Didn't you say your friend moved to Denmark from here? Is that who you're talking about?
No.
Oh, really?
But I like that Blue's a fucking Wild West. No, some girl did an astral chart reading for her. She was nice.
Neat.
And she spoke English. Yeah. I did some astral chart readings for free for a little bit. Just to practice. So I put an ad out on this Facebook group I was part of. And I think I did about 20 readings. And it was fun, but there's one girl's chart in particular that just fucked my vibe up. And every time I went to go look and read it, it just would give me like kind of like a picking sensation between the eyes, like almost needles. And so I just had stashed it away. And I had this folder where I was keeping the charts so that I could reference. And then I had a week of just not very productive at all. And usually when I'm not productive, it's something in my room's askew. And so I started wondering what it was, and I was like, it's that fucking bitch's chart. And I went in and tore their chart up, threw it out, walked back in my room, and it was just like heaven again. So I don't know what to make of that. I know one astrologer I like, he vets his clients, so he does some sort of ritual to know first if he should even read their chart. And perhaps I should have adopted something like that.
Well, something to do for the future, maybe.
Because there's one thing I've learned since that you need to have placements similar to theirs. Like me being a Capricorn, I would be better suited to give readings to other Capricorns. And maybe other Earth signs. But it would be less suited to give a reading to a fire sign or something like that. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's the basic gist of it. I always say more complicated because my moon's in Scorpio, so I'd also be suited to a Scorpio. My rising sign's Aquarius, so thus I'd be suited for an Aquarius. But I didn't know that at the time, so not really sure what her placements were, but I know they didn't jive well with me.
Maybe she was just crazy too.
I suspect a bit like that. It felt like frantic energy. I don't know what was going on in her life at the point, but...
which is sad, because if that's what she was trying to fix, you know... But...
That's just the universe working, you know, kind of like she had to go through that franticness. Like, if I could have suggested something that she might have, you know, might have been the right answer, I don't think she would have been able to apply it no matter how hard she tried, because her life needed her to go through that chapter she was going through. So, in a way, it's best not to tamper.
Yeah, no pun intended.
But then again, I feel like for the first half of your life, it's not good to tamper. Then as you get older, say past 35, it's better to actually tamper with yourself and apply yourself. And so...
kind of figure out where you've been and where you're going.
Yeah, and like, you know, the self-control at that point would be conducive. At the point of maybe you being 16, you're trying to, I don't know, avoid drinking, like do all these right things. You're kind of robbing yourself of the essence of youth.
Well, that's the thing, is you kind of need to do all, like, you need to get your stupid junk out of the way when really you're at the time of your life where you can recover from it the easiest, realistically. You know, unless you're doing like really stupid stuff like knocking people up and driving drunk into ditches, you know.
Yeah, live while you're young and die while you're old.
Well, you know, I feel like that's a pretty good plan. You know, instead of die while you're young and don't live to old.
Don't try to live too ahead of your own life, basically. So that's where Earth comes from. Number 152. Did a deity or event start the universe? Again, like, these can't really be questions, because the ultimate answer right now is we don't know for sure. We can regurgitate other people's answers that are very decent speculations, but I don't know for sure. I also feel
like it's kind of like when we went to the fun questions with, does grass feel pain, do trees feel pain? Our answer to the first question, or 151, is going to basically be the same to 152.
Yeah, where did Earth come from? A Big Bang. Did a deity or event start the universe? Event. Where did the Earth come from? God. Did a deity or event start the universe? Deity.
Yeah, right. So I think we could just go on to 153.
They're just titillating themselves. It's a circle jerk.
Well, like I said, I believe that Krista had a quota.
Again, I don't understand who makes a quota at 255.
It is an odd number.
Just like it's 250. 200.
Yeah.
If the CEO knew his workers, he'd be like, alright, Krista, a list of 2 philosophical questions.
She'd be hard-pressed, I think.
2 bangers. Alright. Number 153, does the universe's origin affect how one lives, and if so, how? This one's more decent. It definitely does. I think that people who have a more spiritually inclined view of the origin. Now, I wouldn't say just like a pure, like, you know, strict religious God made it and we're all here to try not to sin.
Yeah.
I mean more of a free sort of spiritual, like, you get to...
The idea of a greater spirituality is an idea that your actions are more meaningful, right? I mean, I know that that's going to make some atheists' toes curl, but at the same time, I feel like you really have to fight. It's like, well, to me, is like, well, if the universe were just here out of sheer dumb luck, then what is the purveying... Like, you have to then convince yourself that it's worthwhile to work for the greater good, right? Because in the end, if it just goes black, then it's like, well, what matters before? What came before me doesn't matter, and then what comes after me doesn't matter. All that matters is me. So I feel, you know, I'm not saying that you can't be a good obviously, you know,
nihilists basically have more permission to be shitheels if they want to.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was that if you have this sort of viewpoint of there is some purpose and design to this, and it was made by some sort of force that had foresight, sophistication, blah, 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 you tend to notice the beauty of life and sometimes the irony or the coincidences, the synchronicity. You then pick up on those, and it kind of it fulfills that notion that yes, there is something at play, and you are here with cause, not just existing to exist. So I would say it affects one's life in an enhanced manner, because they're enthralled by the beauty and it's still a bit mysterious, but it's also not mysterious because you see its hand at work. You don't fully know the actual, I don't know, some of the deeper parts maybe, but you understand that it's providing for you, or it knows you're there and it's there. So it can improve your life a lot if your view of the origin is not dogmatic. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm with you.
Okay, number 154. Does the vastness of space impact the way you perceive yourself?
I would say, I have existential moments where it's like, how big is this world and how big is the universe? And then I think about how small I am, right? But in the end of the day, it's like, but I'm not responsible for how big the universe is. I'm not responsible for the rest of the world. I'm responsible for how I conduct myself. So in a sense, it's humbling, but it's not important, Like, it doesn't really affect the day-to-day other than understanding that I'm part of a whole, part of a collective.
Mm-hmm. I guess this is where people are like, well, I just don't matter because, so many people don't matter.
Yeah.
I feel like this bleeds into the notions where it's like, why does the government not take care of us, or why isn't life just better functioning? Kind of, we always go back to Denmark, but why aren't more things like Denmark?
Yeah.
And that sort of could make you nihilistic, because your home life's dysfunctional, and then you look at when your government's dysfunctional, and then your job's dysfunctional, and everything's just dysfunctional, and then you feel like you look around and you're like, well, these things are dysfunctional, and then there's other places that are even worse than me. Like, what the fuck is the point? This vastness is all just dysfunctional. Yeah. But then that is all being played through your own perspective, like your own viewpoint. And so if you flip the switch and try to see it as functional, it takes a lot of work, but in theory, I guess you flip the switch and your life, you start appreciating your life, and then appreciating other people, and then appreciating the world at whole. So the vastness, it doesn't impact the way you perceive yourself. It can be a detriment if you perceive yourself as
the center.
No, as shitty. Like if you perceive your life as because you are the center of your own universe, as we all are.
Well, you have to be.
Yeah.
I think I pooched mine.
So, I would say basically it doesn't affect the way that you yourself perceive yourself, unless you perceive yourself in a negative way, and then it's like, oh, it's all negative. But I suppose then at the other end, if you view it as all positive, then it's this vast positiveness. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like, I know they talk about radiating your light a lot in spirituality. I don't always understand that as well as I don't even know if sometimes I wonder if they know what the fuck they're talking about, or if I'm just missing parts of it, but it could be that the more positive you view things, the bigger, the further your light shines. Yeah. Now I'm just going into a field to ask some questions about that, but yeah, I would say the vastness of space doesn't impact the way you perceive yourself. The way you perceive yourself impacts the vastness of your own space. Mm-hmm. Good?
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty clear.
Okay. Number 155. Do things about the universe imply it exists due to chance or design?
I think we already covered that one. Is that we
pretty evident
believe that it's
design.
due to design. I mean, there is the argument because with evolution, how things work together. That you what are you doing?
I don't know. I'm seeing if there's more in there. Keep on your thought. Don't pay attention to me.
Well, I just saw you using the tamper. Anyway.
Yeah, I was checking if it's all dusted. So, back to you, Tony. Things about the universe imply
with evolution, right? An explanation for why things meld together so well is because the things that didn't would have died off. So that's why you have, how we breathe out carbon dioxide and the plants drink that in.
Okay.
Is because we grew up together, right?
Yeah.
But I would and I think that obviously more purely science-minded people will say, well, of course that's how it worked out because that's how it had to work out because otherwise we wouldn't be here. But looking at it, it's kind of like, how beautiful is the world to work out this way, that it couldn't be designed. Like, I look at, and it's a simple thing, and it's not like it's a grandstand soapbox moment.
Yeah.
But there are times where I just am outside, and I look at the clouds, and I'm like, how could anything this gorgeous not be designed? Like, the fact that basically what gives the planet life, water, right, is collected from the ground into the air, carried around in these gorgeous bodies of evaporated condensed water, and then it rains down, gives us life, right? Things grow, and then it recycles. Like, the fact that the Earth just has a cycle like that, because, obviously there are parent planets that have clouds, but it doesn't have the same kind of atmosphere, or it's kind of like we're exactly where we need to be, and you can say, oh, well, that was just chance, but I mean, to me, it's like that's such an inescapable amount of chance that it seems kind of cockamamie to me to believe that it isn't due to a greater purpose or design.
Like, the fool who says it's all chance, I'm trying to, psychologically process him, and say he's like, just sadly incapable at that current moment when he gives that answer that, oh, it's all chance. Like, it's often given in a defensive tone. If you were to say, obviously there's design, and then somebody's like, no, it's only chance. I feel that anytime somebody says it's chance, it's prefixed by, no, it's only chance.
I tend to, what I run into is that there's a really unwillingness to admit that there is anything greater than themselves, because the idea that there is something greater gives, kind of denotes like, okay, so if there's something greater, then there's something to learn from it, therefore I should change my actions and go against necessarily what I want in the moment.
Yeah.
Right? People get very angry about the existence of God, or even a God, because, well, they would have to change their behavior if there was this greater being, right? Then you can stand in defiance of it, and if you stand in defiance, it's futile, right? If there is this great God, then, sure, you can be a martyr for the cause and be angry about it, but if there is no God, then you can just get mad at people for believing in such a silly notion, because why would you believe? What evidence do you have? And then you can be like, oh, well, clouds. And then they're like, no, clouds because of the condensation and heat and things. And I find that there's a personally, I think that there's a kind of a necessity of poetry that comes with believing in a greater power and a greater call to existence.
Yeah. Is I'm wondering if people are also sometimes just scared because it's a call to learning. Because if they're gonna give credence to that notion, there's some immediate instinct that's like, we don't even know how to compute this. It's like it's almost like a defense mechanism beyond their intent is just like, you know, they...
An insecurity, kind of?
I don't know. I want to say more like incapability, but like a temporary incapability. And maybe it's backed up by an insecurity, but it's like if somebody says to you, "Oh, like God exists," and you're, you know, in this situation where you feel like you're basically have to agree with that person or deny. So I think obviously a lot of people would just be like, "Oh, okay," like let that person, you know, just say what they're gonna say and sort of roll their eyes in the secret of their own mind. If it is that you're going to get on board with them, I would think occasionally it goes immediately to like, fuck, like I actually don't know anything about this, like I can't participate, I don't even know, and I may just be voicing one like sliver of the people who deny the existence of something greater, but to me that was my immediate feeling of if somebody's going to say that God exists, and then you're like, alright, I'm going to believe them, you might feel overwhelmed by the fact that you don't understand at all how that works. And the overwhelmed sensation you get from knowing that you don't understand how that works may be just cause alone enough to deny it. Like, just for the pure overwhelming sensation.
Well, because then there is a call to seek knowledge and to seek understanding if there is that greater being, that greater power.
Yeah, it like denotes or implies a responsibility. Like, you're kind of deciding not to take on that responsibility. And I could see that maybe you just have shit going on in your life where like, I can't even think of that right now. And that's why I said like a temporary incapability, because it's like, I'm trying to get this bill paid, or I'm trying to like, you know, get this project off the ground. Like, I'm so invested in this stuff that I'm doing right now, I can't take, 2 hours, 6 hours a day to fucking figure out how God might work.
Or your role in his plan, or whatever plan of the universe, or whatever greater power, right? Because that is a thing that you, once you understand that there's a greater being than you, obviously you factor in somehow, even if it just goes so far. I think paganism is more of a kind of the gods do their thing and you can call on them. I think that you have, you can kind of be pagan as well as atheist, sorta. I don't know. We were talking earlier about my pagan friend, and he kind of, like, he doesn't believe, like, he still believes in evolution and things like that, but also there are gods sort of thing. Yeah. And it's a bit, existence itself is confusing, right? Like, and that's just the nature of it, is that we really don't know. But I think that's kind of part of the purpose of life, is to figure out what you not necessarily know, but also what you believe, and to pick that path, to choose it.
Yeah, because I have come across a little bit of a trend in this astrology guy that I watch, where he says, when you're old, you get into spirituality. When you're old, you get into these things. And when I first heard it, because obviously I'm into that stuff already, I'm like, well, fuck it, like, am I just, like, basically an old man? Like, like, why is it that attracted me at this age and not at 65? And then I guess more of the question might be, why does it attract somebody at 65 and not 25? And I think what I just touched on about the time to dedicate to that and to do it thoroughly and to kind of get behind the idea. Because I think generally people want to do things as well as they are capable of. Now, how well that is, obviously there's a scale. I
think too it comes from when you're older, you would be around, and even if you're not, so you and I, Caleb and I, talk often about feeling and, you know, looking, not necessarily searching for signs, but being aware of them when they show up. Is that, would you say that's pretty accurate? Something that I'm learning now what to do, which is really helpful to me. And I think that when you're older, it's kind of like, you know, there are people that can avoid that and they don't see it because they're too focused. They're kind of tunnel visioned. But when you're older, it kind of like dawns on you over time because, you know, you can only get so many things thrown in your face where it's like, okay, well, I know what's going to happen next, or I see this, or like I see a sign, and it's enlightening, right? And so once you get that spark, it's kind of ruined for you to go back to the other thing because, well, you know, when there's this call to understanding and you don't answer that call, but you know that there is a call.
So are you kind of saying, like, as your awareness grows, you can't return to your previous state of awareness?
Not with the same kind of ignorance is bliss sort of mentality, right? Because then you know. I know, and this is a personal anecdote, right? But as Kutzky knows, my struggle with alcohol for many years, it was like, oh well, you know, I shouldn't be drinking, but oh well, I'll get to it tomorrow. And then I realized like what it was doing to my life and how it was destroying me. So then, you know, I tried to crawl back into the bottle, and the bottle kind of was like, well, you're not my best friend anymore, I'm not going to be your best friend anymore. And so it was kind of like, well, what's my option now? Like, now it's just time to get my life together. And I couldn't go back, right? Because it was destroying my life before, but I was in an ignorance is bliss sort of state. And then I tried to go back to it, and it was just like I knew, and then every drink was trying not to just drink down what I was looking to avoid, but also I was trying to drink down the guilt of having a drink, and that was just a useless process. And you know, like now it's just like now I get to reclaim my dignity and my integrity in a lot of senses. So I think that and of course that anecdote probably doesn't match tit for tat.
But this is going to what you're saying about listening for signs and understanding.
That's the thing. When you come across that sign, you're like, okay, there might be something bigger, right? And once it clicks, then you can't go back. There are some doors that you just can't go back through. Like when one door opens, another closes, or when one door closes, another opens. So, but that doesn't mean you can go back through that closed door. Right, so it's kind of like, shit, now I've got to get my act together and move forward with my life. And it's not always the most fun thing, but at the same time, when you embrace it, just from what I've found recently, when you embrace it, you do find that you are more fulfilled. Even though the other stuff was fun, it can't be fun anymore because you've learned, right? Like, and you're moving forward. So what was the question? Does the thing in...
Well, we really expanded upon, do things about the universe imply it exists due to chance or design? And we really picked apart the chance or design and basically the benefits of understanding that it is design.
I think we said design because chance is pretty... infantile. I'm gonna,
Well, you just displayed the exact like positive attributes that believing it has a design yields or like gives to your life. Whereas if you were believing that it was just chance, you would. If we're gonna go back to the drinking thing, like you drink and fucking get a DUI, or these friends stop hanging out with you. Like, what do you think? That's just chance? I guess I'm letting this trickle over maybe too far, because this is just saying the universe, because you could obviously pick up on that design of your own life, like your habits affecting your life and affecting them negatively doesn't necessarily indicate that you'd go and say, well, if I have a design in my life, the universe does too.
Well, I think too is that some people, especially when you're dealing with a greater being, is that the idea that, I want to do this, and then the universe goes, well, But what if that's not what you're meant to do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So then there's that kind of... I think it goes back to, how dare you try and tell me what's good for me? I get to decide that. I feel like there's a lot of... Like, people want to have this autonomy from existence.
Responsibility, yeah.
Well, responsibility, but autonomy from responsibility and existence, and it's just... That's... Sorry, buddy. Like, you can fight it or you can embrace it. And again, personally, I think that you're better off embracing it, but that's not how everyone sees it, and I think people can get really quite angry about it. And, you know, good luck to you. Nothing against you. But I think that you're robbing yourself of something much greater.
Yeah.
I really do, because there's...
It's your freedom to fail as much as you like, and fail until you start not wanting to fail, I guess.
So, and I'm going to use religion as an example.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people want to live life now without religion, but there's a reason why religion has carried on this long. It obviously works. And now you can say, I don't want to hear about government structures and how it's corrupt. Like, yes, I get that. It happens, unfortunately, with just about any institution run by men, right? And like, humankind is inherently corrupt. No, I wasn't going. You know, my hair didn't turn pink as I said that, Caleb.
Listen here, boy.
But
let me tell you what men done did for this country.
But
man done made goddamn sofa you're sitting on here, boy.
I think probably,
Man done made that goddamn pipe you've been smoking on there, boy.
Are you done? No, you keep going. I've lost my thought
Man
now.
done made that there cup. Probably a woman done made that there cup, but it was a man who allowed her to make that there cup.
After dinner. She made the dinner, then she worked on the cup.
After dinner, of course. And after she washed the dishes. Of
Clean
which I allowed her to make.
Had to iron my clothes for the morning. Hang them up on that there hanger there. Which I put up with my man hands, because that was man's work, putting up that there hanger. Putting up that tension rod. But anyway, so there's a reason why religion has carried on, and like but religion it goes into culture. It is prevalent, and it permeates, right? And and those greater beliefs give you something greater to believe in, and there is with a sense of greater purpose, also a sense of someone greater than what is going on is looking out for you.
Yeah.
Right? There is a comfort in it, and I know that people can say, oh, well, you know, that's, like, you can't just depend on yourself. Like, I'm sorry, do you never need a hug? Like, you know, and I really think that when you accept that there is a greater power, a greater being that you can call on or you can look to for guidance, that you are better off. Because when you're thinking about, I'm not in control of everything that happens to me, well, what if something is, or is at least guiding you through what is happening, right? When there's a path that maybe, you know, it's a little overgrown, you've got to be careful about what course you take. But if the path is marked out for you, well, geez, that seems like a much easier way to go.
Yeah, to know you kind of have a bit of a shaman to help you on your journey is much more comforting than to, you know, go at it all alone. Is that kind
be
of
alone in the dark? Well, I wouldn't say shaman, but that's just me being pedantic. But
yeah,
like
that nature,
someone looking out for you, a greater being that can see the before and the after and the current, right, and see all the levels of existence. That's so much more comforting.
I agree.
How did you like the straight pipe?
I didn't hate it as much as I thought. I mean, I still think that's just more comfortable.
I really do like it. Because I like being able to hold it down here.
Yeah.
Because like with this one, when I'm just up here, like I said, This one I find is more of a you chomp on it while you do something.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one I find is a very, like, loungy.
Yeah.
Doesn't taste like isopropyl alcohol anymore either, so that was pretty nice.
Our first step in becoming pipe smokers was first learning to clean pipes.
And if you do clean your pipe with a pipe cleaner and isopropyl alcohol, do not then immediately haul on it to see if it's clear or not. I did some trial and error today, people, dear viewers, dear listeners. There was a lot of trial and error, and I just kept going for the error.
Yeah, there's a lot of reoccurring error.
As we were discussing, sometimes you ignore the signs and you keep doing the things that aren't good for you.
It was only chance.
It was only chance the isopropyl alcohol was still there.
Can't be again. Let me try.
No, so what happened is when Caleb was giving me the pipes, I wanted to see how clogged they were. So I gave a haul on the straight pipe, and I gave a haul on the... I'm going to say that's a quarter bent. I gave a haul on a quarter bent. I said, oh, that's a little clogged. So the thing is with the stem, you can take it out. And there was this filter in here. So I took out the filter. And, not thinking anything of it, plugged that back in and gave a haul. Well, if you want to taste what, like 30-year-old tobacco, just standing in his parents' kitchen, trying not to gag and spit into the garbage can. And then, of course, when I got back here, I did it again.
You just inhaled a mouth of dirt and just kept on talking to my parents like you didn't just...
Listen, I want them to respect me.
Suck off a ghost.
Your dad gave me a handshake today. I just felt really welcome. I didn't want to fuck that up.
Mm-hmm. Good man, you are. Strong man. Put some, tact. We'll go on to number 156.
Absolutely. I think we
did this question much more service than it might have.
I think she's asking pretty good questions. I think she's obviously kind of sticking on the same theme. But I find these questions do allow us to go a bit more in-depth. We just kind of have to ignore that she can't word them properly.
Yeah. Just the first two didn't really do much because they were divisive. Like, you basically just have to pick a camp. The other, like, 153, 154, 155... they actually gave you more room to kind of probe and be philosophical and ponder.
Yeah, there isn't the same kind of camp.
Yeah, it wasn't just you have to choose. It's like, oh, this could go this way, this could go that way.
Well, I think it's interesting, too, because people could listen to our answers and then have their own answer, even if they're in a different camp, right? Like, which I know that I still have a loose idea of, like, the definition of philosophy, but... to me, philosophical questions are almost always like questions that you answer, and that's an answer that could be, but there are other answers that are absolutely valid as well, kind of idea.
Yeah.
That's typically how I think about philosophy, is like you really don't get anywhere, you just sit around pondering and having fun.
Yeah, that's why I typically have a fucking, I don't know, sort of a despise it, because I think it's just a bunch of idiots who thought about it a lot and then never decide to like commit to a concrete answer. They're like, well, this is it's like they went as far as the mind could go and then just chose or didn't hit an answer, because if they hit an answer, then I guess that would become a theory, and then that theory would either become science or it would become philosophical.
Well, I guess so. And I mean, I know
another word.
This is a bit of a tangent, but like I also follow philosophy pages on things, and like there is really good philosophy. At the same time, it kind of hammers down absolutes, right? And I think that's what a lot of the great philosophers did. They were like, "Hey, listen, this is like I'm giving you an answer. You listen to you read philosophy just from the snippets that I get, and it's like that makes a lot of sense." But I think it also comes back. It comes back to willing to accept that what you might want to do is not the best thing to do, right? So philosophy in itself almost becomes, you could say, an atheistic look on the universe that could be like a religious atheism. I find typically in these is like you don't necessarily need a deity in order to follow these philosophical ideas. I think it, again, obviously from my previous answers, it helps.
Well, say, for example, Nietzsche says time's a flat circle. That he's given an absolute there. As to my knowledge, I literally have not looked him up because I was like, I don't fucking agree with this fully. I think that's like stage one. Time is a flat circle until you decide to...
Nietzsche, to my understanding as well, is someone who is misquoted.
Okay.
I think because Nietzsche wrote "God is dead," right, and that's the quote that you see.
Mm-hmm. So do you know more about this quote than what I just said?
From what I understand is that like God is dead and we killed him in a sense of
we chose not to believe.
Chose not to believe kind of idea. But again, like I have a very loose understanding.
That just goes to what Buddy at our crib tournament was going on about the ontological arguments.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say that word because I feel like a douchebag saying ontological. But I think that was the gist of it from what I understood. He didn't really seem like he could explain it any better. He was just like stoked on the idea that, yeah, and like God basically, if you don't believe him, then he doesn't exist. And it's like, this is not a mic drop thing. Like, yeah, it's just
you're
like
saying exactly what a 3-year-old would say in college to me.
Yeah, like, if I'm thirsty and then I drink, I'm no longer thirsty. Like, yeah,
I don't believe in water, therefore I cannot be thirsty. Anyway,
so, yeah.
Is it the duty of those currently alive to be ecologically responsible?
Fucking obviously.
I would say so, yeah.
Is it the duty of the dead? Like,
I'm composing or decomposing so well right now, really putting in my time. I'm like, you go get him. That's the worms. The worms are talking to him. They're rooting him on.
We just bury the bodies. They take care of all ecological responsibility.
Can you imagine? That's such a fantasy concept of like the dead look after the living. But anyway,
yeah,
I think it is a duty.
Yeah.
But I think it also comes back to if you believe in the greater good of mankind, if you believe in the greater good of the earth, if you do want it to keep prospering.
Yeah. Because it is your duty whether you believe God or not God. Like, if you're an atheist, you still should treat the planet with some fucking care because you might have kids or you know somebody at least who's younger than you and... Like, don't mess it up for...
It's basically just the decent fucking thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, to not... It's kind of like, you know, don't shoot your heroin at the playground and leave your needles. Like, it's kind of your duty, whether you accept it or not, whether you do it or not.
Yeah, this is... I do understand where this question came from, but the fucking answer is pretty obvious. It is. And it, like, religion doesn't define whether you have a responsibility to be ecologically minded.
Well, and I think this might go without saying, but religion also doesn't define whether you're a good person or not, which, you know, obviously one of the reasons why there's such a bitter taste of religion in a lot of atheists' mouths is because you do have people that say, oh, because I believe in God, I am righteous.
Yeah.
Just a caveat is all I'm saying is to propose.
Those people are out there. Ain't no doubt about it. Number 157. Is the Earth the only planet inhabited by living beings? Fuck no.
I'm pretty sure they found... No. Now, this is going back a few years. But I remember seeing on YouTube that there was a meteor or something that came down, and there were microorganisms that either weren't carbon based or like they ate arsenic or something.
Okay.
Remember, like this is off the top of my head, but it was like this is not from Earth. Like this is not. So in essence, that is an alien, right? Yeah. So obviously,
it was a living being.
Yeah. So it came down.
Yeah.
Are you gonna want more pipe tobacco?
Yeah. Next episode, maybe. I'm good for now, but it was good. Yeah, this is pretty fucking obvious. Obviously, she's kind of maybe speculating towards aliens. Aliens, anytime, come down, visit your boy. You're welcome. Stay in my house. We got smokes. My wife will cook. She's good at doing that, and other things are not just predominantly gender stereotypes, but
like, I'm gonna admit, I zoned out a bit thinking about my tobacco, and then I zoned back into like gender stereotypes. Like, okay, still talking about the cooking.
Yeah, just plain. She's a good cook, so yeah, aliens, come on down. They probably don't fucking eat food though.
Well, maybe not our food.
Yeah.
But every creature needs to ingest something, right, to get fuel for their body.
Maybe they just think of a fucking cheeseburger and then they're nourished. They ingest their own thoughts. That's the eternal being right there.
I think that would be dealing with like a fourth dimensional or higher being. Because, I mean, when you're dealing with the third dimension, matter cannot be created or destroyed, right? So in order to create fuel, you would need to create matter by your thoughts.
So we just need to become more fourth dimensional.
Yeah, you can. You lead the way.
There's that guy who photosynthesized. There's just some fucking video on the internet. It's,
okay, but you know what photosynthesis is, right?
He's just thinking about producing flower juice on his tongue, and it appears, and he drinks it. I'm fucking trying to support my previous theory with this bullshit answer.
I'm not going to come at it on any end.
Any other end than what it shows. Yeah, so photosynthesis is the sun. So I guess,
yeah, you're still converting energy.
Mm-hmm. Alright, well, there's always a fucker from India that does things crazier than any other human.
Well, they're on a different level, the gurus are.
Yeah, they got it in strides.
So, neither of us believe that the Earth is the only planet to be inhabited by living beings.
Yeah.
Especially if you watch Rick and Morty.
There you go. It'd just be depressing. If it's all on us to figure out the universe, hey...
and I feel like not believing in aliens. So, okay, this is what I'm going to say, is that it almost having I'll say Christian, right?
Yeah.
A Christian mindset is we're the only planet because we're God's chosen, right? So in that sense, it would make sense if we are the only planet to have life. But if you're dealing with an atheistic perspective or a more science-driven perspective, if it happens once, it can happen again. And the universe is infinite, right?
Yeah.
So there's... What would... It seems incredibly unlikely. Now, I understand I'm not a mathematician, but it seems infinitely unlikely to me that you wouldn't have another planet in the sweet spot that would nurture life.
Yeah.
That's what it seems to me.
Yeah, that's just more and more fucking... ammo towards it is not the only planet.
I also want to point out that
by living beings.
Wait, no, never mind. I can't speak to that. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. What are you going to talk about? Female anatomy?
Whew, well, I mean, that's a different podcast, I think. Smugglers Cove after dark.
I tell my wife that back in the day they used to yeast infections just meant that they were producing sourdough from their uteruses. That's how sourdough was invented, was by yeast infections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The texts have been lost, but those who know. And, that's, sandwich makers from the get-go. Anyways, number 158. Is anything in the world eternal, Tony?
Corruption.
Corruption.
Well, no, that's not a real... change.
Yeah.
Changes forever.
Emotions.
Yeah. Everything is going to change, is inevitable, and the only thing that is unchangeable is change.
Yeah.
You know, eternal. Yeah, I'd say change is eternal.
Do you agree with my emotions thought?
Emotions are eternal?
Well, just the fact that at every point in history, somebody's felt joy, somebody's felt sadness. Like, they've felt it through their own lens.
But what I'm thinking is, like, even if you wiped life off of Earth, right? Like,
yeah.
Change is eternal on Mars as it is on Earth, as it is on the sun. Right?
Okay.
So in the world, eternal, like, I guess, like, I'm kind of playing with, like, a hypothetical of, like, change has to be eternal because everything is constantly changing. Like, a rock will tumble or water will run. Even on Mars, like, you know, the wind moves and shapes the deserts.
So then we could say motion. Motion is eternal.
But motion is change.
Well, can motion occur without change?
Can change occur without motion?
Change can't occur without motion, but motion could occur without change.
How?
Well, it just might not be the change of, like, altering something from one state into another. Like, if you just spin something, it's not really changing what that thing is. It's just moving.
But it's changing its position. It's changing its...
But it's not change, because I'm using change... I guess there's two definitions of change in my mind that I'm using. Like, change to change yourself into a better person. Like, motion will help you do that because you take motion towards other things. But motion, if you're just, say, walking but continuously being a shitty person, your motion is still motion, but it's not.
So you're kind of thinking it.
Change.
So I guess you're kind of attacking it from a point of energy and consciousness, and I'm kind of saying I'm breaking it down to the physical nature.
Yeah.
Right? But going back...
I was breaking it down to the physical nature, and you were breaking it down to the conscious nature.
Well, no, because I said even if you wiped all Earth, all life off Earth, you would still have change.
Because the mountains would get eroded by the rain?
Would be eroded by the rain. The water would eat at the coastline. Trees, you know... Oh, not trees. Okay. If you're talking about all life off Earth being wiped away.
Yeah.
Well, you said emotions, I guess, and I... Because it... So if the Earth, if we dam it with nuclear war and then pollution and whatnot... Yeah. I don't think that truly life will be entirely wiped off Earth. I think that it might be put down to the smallest, like, organisms, and they'll have to start again over a period of millions of years. But for argument's sake, if you wiped all life off Earth, you would still have change.
Yeah, but then I could say, for argument's sake, a tree. It's summertime. A slight breeze passes through it. In the morning. It doesn't lose any leaves. It doesn't shift its position. There was motion through it. It didn't actually change.
You might not perceptibly see the change, but there would be dust that would move along the bark. There would be...
Okay.
Like, I'm not trying to be just
but yeah.
But it's like,
where
you are... Just because a change is microscopic does not mean it isn't change, right?
Yeah. So I'm trying to paint a scenario where there is motion and not change. I guess I'm also declaring that change has to be significant. Change can be petite. Enough of that?
Yeah. I think we're just going to work ourselves into a titty.
Yeah.
Or
I would love working myself into a titty.
Oh, don't we all?
That's how I got married. Is anything in the world eternal? We got that. Is time eternal? Again, this is kind of like the top one. Like, do we know this for sure? Like,
so time...
is time eternal?
Time is technically what humans use to measure existence. And because technically time doesn't exist, there is only existence. We use time because that's how we quantify it, right? So, is time eternal? Well, This is okay. So I said that with a lot of confidence, but this is also a concept that I struggle with.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that time is eternal because existence is eternal, and with change is time, right? So you might not have 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but obviously the sun goes up and changes position in the sky and goes down again.
Yeah, so you could kind of say, in the sense that we invented at least the word time to describe what we think is time, and if we're going to go like kind of more on this minutes thing, eventually the world could start speeding up, and then our 24-hour days are suddenly 22-hour days, and so then we don't have 12 o'clock anymore, or we don't have, if we're going through military time or something. So it's like...
Or our hours could be shortened to like 45 minutes instead of 60 kind of idea.
So our time, in a way, it was not eternal because it has now changed into a smaller increment. And though time, it is still time, it's not the same time that it once was. So it's not eternal in a way. It's ever fluctuating and inherently eternal.
Over time changes. It seems like time's pretty eternal. I'm willing to say that time is eternal because existence is eternal.
Alright. I just, I'll go with that because I don't really feel like I can answer this well.
So, I mean, I guess we got to the real philosophical question then.
Well,
as by our definition of like going around in circles and not really having one answer is a definite.
Fair. Woody Allen has a good joke where he says like, okay, like, fucking...
Pardon me.
Quantum physicists say that time is the same thing as, like, space and time are the same thing. Is this what they say? They say space and time is the same thing? Like...
Well, do they? I let you take the lead on this one.
Alright, for the sake of the joke, quantum physicists, they say that space and time are the same thing. And then he says, well, he's like, what the hell am I supposed to do with that? I asked the guy for the time, and he says 3 meters. That's my answer. Joke. Is time eternal? Could be, could not be. Doesn't really affect. I think that life is eternal. I think that our souls continue and continue and continue. So then, with life being eternal, time is just, I don't know, the markers of when things occur.
Well, and to me, time and existence are almost like the existence of the universe, not like your existence or my existence, right? Although you're talking about souls, we're just going to leave the souls out of it for now.
Yeah.
But like time and existence to me are very like they're synonymous because without time, existence can't really exist because if there is no passage, like that seems like a very weird reality because if to me, say you have a very still universe, right? If there is no time, then nothing can move. Because in order for there to be something to move, there had to be where it was before, right?
Well, maybe
so then the before and the after are different.
Should we say time's more like it's a tool, right? Like
a tool by existence.
Like it's a tool to measure existence. Like if I'm gonna say,
that's what I said earlier.
Okay, then I'm just regurgitating.
I think.
It's like saying, is a tool eternal? Like a tool can be used eternally, but like is the tool eternal? Like I guess it is because it can always be used. Like you're just using this measurement thing of like, alright, in this chapter of existence, this happened early and this happened in the middle part and this happened in the later part. Like that's the time. And you can even get more specific of like, give it years. But it's like time's really just, it's this tool that
marker
we're using, like we're placing it upon it. Time.
Well, and that's why I said time is something that we came up with, but then that's something I struggle with because you do have a before, and you do have an after, right? So like time as we know it exists because humans made, hours and days and years.
Yeah.
But to me, time is kind of, well, the way I look at it is like nothing is truly ever gone because it's kept in existence. Like I don't think that it's as simple as like we can't reach back and touch the past.
Yeah.
Right? But as we know, the past touches us every day.
Yeah.
Right? And we can't touch we can touch the future. The future can't touch us yet. Except what I think, when we talk about seeing signs and keeping track of the things that we see that kind of say, okay, we're on the right track.
Yeah.
Then obviously I think that is the future coming and touching us, which is, I know, kind of a different tangent, but I really do think that time would be eternal because time coincides with existence.
Okay.
Right, so it reaches out and touches you at different aspects. Like we can't touch the past. I guess is the only thing that I can say.
Yeah, if time being past, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of macheted that one, but
I know what you're saying, and I can't like unhinge my brain from this new understanding of this, where it's like, time's just a tool for measuring. Like we will always have some sort of form of that tool of measurement. Right now it's called time. Perhaps in a different galaxy they have a different word for time, but it's
a hammer is a hammer is a hammer.
Yeah.
Whether you call it, by I don't know
exactly
different words for hammers. That's
Gooply Glock or something. I'm just saying that another galaxy calls time Gooply Glock.
Yeah. Oh, I thought we were talking about hammers still, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's the Gloopenspiel, the Burdenspiel, the Kleichenspiel. These are different hammers. You know this?
Yeah, from what, Uranus? I think that's where you pulled them out of.
That's good.
I thought you were going to say Glockenspiel, and I was like, why'd you bring the marching band instrument into a discussion?
No, I was specifically avoiding the Glockenspiel. It was
okay.
Well, because I knew
so
that was real.
Glockenspiel?
Yeah, I was like trying to be like, no, these things are things you just haven't heard of it.
Germans with speech impediments at that point.
You never took carpentry in Latin?
Find me a Latin word that has gloop in it.
Again, the texts have been lost, and those who know.
To the sands of time, which is eternal. All right, 160. Did time, as we now perceive it, start? Did time?
As we now perceive it, yeah, she fucked up.
Okay, thank you. Did time, as we now perceive it, start at a specific moment? So,
again, if it's just getting preoccupied on the word time as that word, time existed before we had the word time. We didn't measure things.
That's a really interesting thought. So I said that existence and time, right, are kind of synonymous.
Yeah.
But if you're going to measure existence, if existence began, then there would have been a time before existence.
Yeah. Time before existence, or existence before time.
Well, but that's a thing.
Yeah.
It's because if existence, so for instance, the Big Bang.
Like a caveman didn't have a Rolex.
Well, we're going backwards now. No pun intended.
I'm just saying that.
But what I'm saying is, so I'm going still by my definition of time being kind of like a track of things existing. So if existence itself had a point at which it started, then there was technically a time when it wasn't existence.
Okay. Yes.
So to me, it's did time. So I would say.
I get what
start
you're
at a specific moment, though, is like what time did time start?
When the first Rolex was made.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Tuk Tuk. He decided to make a sundial out of coconut leaves and probably frozen feces.
Okay.
And then he discovered the Rolex, and that's how we got civilization.
That's why he was the king.
Yeah. He had 3 horses.
All hail Tuk Tuk.
There we go.
And a Rolex. A shitty one. The first knockoff Rolex.
Was the real one?
Yeah.
First knockoff was the authentic Rolex. So I'm going to say that no. For me personally, I don't think that time ever specifically began. I think that time just is and was and will be.
Yeah. And if it was that it all started at some, like if existence, because existence began at some point, then time began because now it had the opportunity to exist. Things didn't exist previous.
Yeah.
So nothing was anything.
Mind you, I don't believe in the Big Bang either. So to me, existence has been.
Yeah, forever.
Right? So.
And thus time.
So either way I win.
Yeah.
Time I win. Yeah, so I'm going to say no. I don't think it began at a specific moment.
Yeah. Number 161. Will time continue to run after the human species no longer exists?
Yeah.
Yeah, we answered this already. Number 162. If we find another inhabitable planet, would there be any moral implications if humans left the Earth and moved there?
So, is it already settled by a species? And did we ask permission to immigrate? Like, did we cross our T's and dot our I's? I would say that's the moral implication.
Yeah.
Is there sentient life?
Yeah.
And if there is...
Did they say we could go?
Yeah, did we get permission from mom? Like, so I mean, moral implications, because here's the thing is that if there isn't sentient life and we go and settle another planet, while I would hope that future Earthlings, future mankind, Earthlings is your thing, but future mankind, I would hope, would approach the new planet as, all right, maybe don't poison the water and pollute the air and destroy creatures.
Deceive the fucking natives with
Small
blankets
and rum.
Yeah, basically don't repeat our history somewhere else.
Yeah, learn from what we've done. But I can't say that I would see any moral implications because, pardon me, I think that is just part of what we do is we expand. As any being, any creature would if it were capable, right? Like, because if you had a land bridge from Earth to another planet, a deer wouldn't be like, I'm instinctually not going over this land bridge. It would be wrong, like it's going to go where the grass is.
Yeah.
So I don't think morally you're doing wrong by moving to another planet. That being said, you can do the right thing the wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that will really... Because if I think of future, like a beautiful future where it's like we can leave this planet and go to another planet, it'd probably be more like traveling. Like we could move to a different country and live there.
Yeah, I was saying, like, thinking that it'd be more like a colony situation. Like we would colonize another planet. If we're at the point where we can actually colonize other planets, I have a hard time believing that we wouldn't have at least mitigated our damage on Earth, so it would just be an option.
I guess here's a way to word it. If we find another inhabitable planet that has no inhabitants, is there any moral implications if we leave Earth?
I don't think so.
No,
that's what I would say. I would say almost Earth would benefit if humanity evacuated.
Spread out.
Well, I mean, that being said, like, kind of leads into the next question of should space travel be accessible to all people. I don't think you're going to have this mass exodus without the destruction of Earth. But I don't know. Like if one country was just like, no, we're gone, and then we just had like they leveled their cities and then got on the last spaceship and left so that nature could reclaim the land. Mind you, then a bunch of wars would spring up. So like kudos, but
yeah.
I really don't think there would be moral implications so long as we learn from our mistakes and didn't just...
Well, and I hope to hell by the time space travel is like a thing.
Truly feasible.
We're not still stuck in this like world where we give like, oh no, you can't go, Johnny, because you're
PA is too low.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say, too.
I figured.
Yeah.
That's where you were going.
Classic Johnny.
Low GPA average Johnny.
Yeah. Did you say melatonin? Should space travel be accessible to all people? Yes, it should.
Yes, it should.
Despite your melatonin levels. I don't think we'd be fucking, like, you know, cutting people off and saying you couldn't go if we can space travel. I also don't know, like, if I'm viewing it through the lens of right now, I don't know that I want to go to another planet.
If we're talking about it right now, like, I know that they have billionaires, Elon Musk and whatnot, are like, okay, we can go to space. Honestly, if the billionaires want to test fly the first, like, shuttles, I think, you know what, let them be on the front lines. If I'm only 70 when I get to go into a super safe aircraft, yeah, sure, I'll wait for public transit to really get get its sea legs out in space, you know, like, should it, but, I mean, that's kind of treating space travel as, like, a human right, and at which point it's kind of like, be content with what you have, you know, so I would say no. Like, all people, like, well, I mean, if it's at that point, it kind of makes it seem like if you're stuck on Earth, you're denied space travel. Well, we're already denied space travel, and we don't necessarily suffer from it. No. So, like, while if it's Earth is poisonous and it's only the poor people living on Earth, and then it's like, no, you can't get on because you don't have enough credits or seashells or gold bullion, then, like, yeah, there's a problem. But I don't think that space travel should initially or innately become a human right, you know? Like, if at the same time, you know, like, if you can't get on the bus unless you have $2, I think that's a pretty fair system, in a sense. Like, you do need to pay for it.
Yeah, and I would want to send our best and brightest, I guess, if it was that we could send them. I guess it just goes back to what you said of, like, do we have permission from the other planet? I guess if this is just space travel, you could just be going for a trip in space. I'm assuming you're going to a different planet.
It's not necessarily space destination.
Yeah, you just go up and come back down.
If you're going for a whip around the sun, then, like, no, that's a ride. Like, I expect to pay for a laser tag. Like, there's nothing that says I'm entitled to laser tag.
Yeah, fair. If you get the gold bullion, take a trip around the sun. Number 164. Is it good, bad, or neutral? God fucking bless her. Is it good, bad, or neutral that humans have invested so many resources into space exploration? I could give a fuck less. Like, there's more important issues to be fixed than whether or not we can fucking inhabit the moon. Like, let's all learn how to be wonderful to each other first, and to ourselves.
And if you're looking at it from a scientific point of view, I think we have a lot more to learn from the oceans than we do from space, as far as benefiting humanity. Like, they can, I think I know it's horseshoe crabs. Their blood can be used, I think, to cure diabetes.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to do a quick Google on horseshoe crab blood, I know it's used in a medical procedure somehow.
Okay.
But horseshoe crabs are becoming of use medically. So, I mean, we should be looking at... Well, search horseshoe crab blood. There we go.
Why is this a value? Extremely bionutrients because their unique copper-based blue blood contains a substance called... Okay,
Yeah, but what does the blood do?
Blood, diabetes.
Well, just put use.
Used for.
There you go.
Check for new this technique.
So vaccines... Which checks for new vaccines for contamination? Okay, so it's used to purify vaccines or to test vaccines.
Sure.
So not diabetes. I was clear wrong, but
Still, if they're...
But still, again, I think that we should be exploring the ocean more than... Like, I think that the ocean should be a bigger priority. At the same time, I don't think it's bad. I think it's just perhaps a bit misdirected. And, of course, like, we only really got into space because the Soviets were like, we can launch something up there. And America was like, no, we're going to go to the moon. You were the first in space. Fuck you. We're going to win the space race by going to the moon. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I don't like that the space exploration came out of a pissing contest.
Yeah.
But I think that there are merits to space travel. At the same time, I would rather, again, the ocean. I think the ocean is a much more worthwhile investment.
Yeah. So then, neutral and kind of veering into bad just because we could be investing money into other things that would yield more impactful results.
Imprudent? Unprudent? I don't know. But it's not prudent. I wouldn't say it's the most prudent use of our resources or time.
Unsavvy.
Savvyless.
Is there a difference between faith and superstition?
Yeah. Superstition is
Just answer the question.
I think that superstition is kind of like, you know how, again, bringing it back, how we've been, well, mostly me, been talking about, like, looking for signs and everything. I find superstition is almost like when you're hyper-aware and you're looking for, it's almost like the hypochondria of belief.
Yeah.
Like, you're looking like, oh, there's that. And it's more than looking out for signs. It's almost like you're afraid of certain things happening.
Yeah.
Like a ladder, I don't think is... Well, I was talking to this one girl one time, and we were walking, and I think she was one of those... You know how, like, apparently men will feign incompetence? It's called weaponized incompetence, because of course it is, so that, like, they don't want to do something, so they're like, how do I do this? That I find, like, women will kind of...
Weaponized incompetence?
It's a feminist thing. Women will pretend to be really scared of something so that you, like, baby them a little bit. I know, like, not all women, but, like... Yeah. So this woman, I was, like, 19, she was 25. Or, no, I was...
Did you really turn it into that much of a weapon?
Well, it's basically, like, anyway. But, I was, like, was I 16, 17? And this girl was, like, 23, 25. Anyway, we were walking... And she was like, oh, a ladder, I'm scared of ladders, and like tuck herself under my arm, and it's just like, it's a fuck, you're 25 and you're scared of ladders? Like, well, don't walk under, like, like a lot of superstitions also come from just the fact that it's a dumb idea. Like, don't walk under a ladder, because it could fall. Don't open your umbrella inside, because it's a dumb idea. Umbrellas are big and they can knock shit down.
So... Is this like saying that faith is just belief and thus superstition is as well just belief? And it's like they're trying to say, is there a difference because they're both just beliefs?
I think that's kind of the gist, but I think that there is a difference between superstition.
Because I mean, I have a superstition against wearing colored jeans. Because I had my first like bad skate injury. I was skating in colored jeans, split my shin open, and then I was skating in colored jeans, I dislocated my elbow. I've never skated them again, and to me it's a superstition. I also have faith in the fact that if I don't wear colored jeans, I'm less predisposed to injury. So does that help clarify this at all, or is that just a weird?
I don't. I wouldn't say. I think that you're devaluing your own anecdote by saying that it's just a weird thing. I think that gives us the opportunity to kind of delve into it a bit, because superstition, like faith in something, is you believe in it without evidence, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So superstition. Your superstition is not necessarily without evidence. It's just kind of in the logical fallacy of like causation does not equal correlation. Or correlation doesn't equal causation, right?
Yeah.
Like, but at the same time, have you really fucked yourself up in blue jeans?
No.
Well, then I would say for your, like, unless you're going around being like, you're wearing colored jeans at the skate park, be like, take those the fuck off, kid. Like, I brought you some blue jeans.
Yeah.
Like, I think,
I feel it is like pertinent to me and not to others. Like I wouldn't.
Yeah, to me, superstition. I mean, I think that what you're explaining about yourself would fall under the purview of superstition. At the same time, you obviously are really in tune to stuff, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like, what if you're just not meant to wear colored jeans, and it's that simple? Yeah. So, but then, if you haven't gotten really like grievously injured in blue jeans, and you have in colored jeans, yeah, then are you really denying yourself much, right? Are you truly hurting yourself by saying, it's not like you're like, oh, I hurt myself when I went outside, so I'm not going to go outside because then I'll never hurt myself. You're like, I'm not going to wear colored jeans. Fair. So okay, that's not the question. Is there a difference between faith and superstition?
Just yes.
I would say, yeah, there is. Now, what that difference is would take a bit longer to define or to...
Well, okay, faith can be very hopeful, whereas superstition is almost always fearful.
That's a really good point. It's almost always like a preventative, worrisome measure.
Yeah, in faith, it's like...
Faith is a belief, is a belief and a... Well, hopeful, yes.
Positive? Like you have faith that your son will figure it out. You have faith that
you have faith
your child.
Well, you have faith in God because without evidence to the contrary, you believe that He exists, or empirical evidence. I don't know why I air quoted that, but yeah. Well, I guess no. I will air quote that because sometimes proof to you doesn't stand up in court, but it's still proof. Yes. You know, like I was talking to you about how last night I did the drawing with the bear. Yeah. And the reason I knew I was supposed to, or I kind of, not necessarily like, I was probably going to do it anyway, but when I scrolled on TikTok and I randomly came across that guy drawing a bear, I was just like, well, that says to me just, okay.
Draw the bear.
Like that, draw the bear.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is it might sound stupid to other people, but at the same time, you're still the main character of your own story. It doesn't have to sound smart to other people. Yeah. Like, I don't think that I'm glad that I drew that drawing last night. I'm glad that I worked on that art. I think that it was a real plunge forward for me, both on an emotional level, because I have been artistically stunted. Yeah. And you know, it helped me express myself in a way that I felt I needed to. Yes. So I don't think there's, you know, whether someone is just like, oh, you only drew it because you saw a bear on TikTok, like, laugh at me all you want. Did you draw something last night? Yeah. What did you fucking do?
Like, I was thinking another thing here with this is that faith is kind of the bridge between disbelief and understanding. I could say that. Let's say you...
Could you repeat that, sorry?
Faith is the bridge between disbelief and understanding. Okay. Like, faith leads you into a part where you understand it. It's like...
It kind of carries you over the gap.
Yeah.
Which is a bridge.
Yes. Yes, yeah.
This just in on Smugglers Cove. Bridges bridge the gap. Fuck me.
I guess I was just thinking...
I strive so hard for eloquence, and then I just end up putting my foot in my mouth. But yeah, okay. Yeah, it bridges between disbelief and
understanding. It can turn disbelief into understanding. Because sometimes you have to have a little faith. Faith is also, I would say, often inspired by a notion, like just a knowing. Like, I feel like this is right. Like, I... kind of have faith that this is right,
but you can also have faith in people. It's not necessarily like you can also just, and I think that having faith in people, while sometimes you put your money on the wrong horse, you can have faith in someone, and I think that if they know that, that's especially helpful. If they care, right. If you're putting your faith in the right horse. Money on the right horse, rather, or you could have faith but don't gamble, people. That's a serious addiction. Yeah. But like it's
steal money.
Yeah, but only if. Money. Yeah. Wait, what? The horse steals money?
No, the fucking gambling. It's a waste of money.
See, and that's the thing is, like, I went into the bar one night and I was like, you know what? I see these people on the VLTs. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna put $20 in that machine. and I think I won 65 cents. And then I said, I'm never doing that again. I'm just going to drink it. Like, at least with alcohol, I knew what I was getting. Right?
Yeah, guaranteed bang for $1.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you're at least assured what you're getting. You know?
Yeah.
Like, you might not get a jackpot every time. Sure, the payoff's a lot bigger, but I know that every time I put down $5, I'm getting a bottle of beer.
Yeah, you always win. In a way.
I always lose.
Well, when it's beer.
But yeah, in that transaction, you always win.
Yeah.
But you know, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that faith is the bridge between disbelief and understanding, and superstition, as we said, is almost always kind of like a almost like a fence.
Superstition is the bridge between sanity and insanity. You could sanely believe in some superstitions, and then you could be so obsessive that it then would lead you into like a frantic state of just.
I still like spiritual hypochondria. I find.
I don't even know what to explain.
So what I was saying is that you become so superstitious that you're afraid to move because you're seeing all this evil everywhere.
Yeah.
I think that superstition should be applied.
That's a type of insanity, yes.
Well, I wouldn't... So superstition, a lot of the ones that we have already, like I mentioned before, it's like umbrellas and ladders. That comes from common sense. It's bad luck to do those things because they end up usually in dumb things happening. Yeah. I'm a bit superstitious because whenever I spill salt, I throw it over my shoulder. I think it has to do with something with the devil. Now, I believe in the devil. So that, to me, is just like, well, if this is what it takes to get the devil to fuck off for another 5 minutes, then yeah, I'm going to throw salt over my shoulder. That doesn't bother me. Honestly, I kind of look at superstitions as fun.
Yeah.
Like, superstitions are kind of like religion light, where you don't really have to commit to a belief system. You can just be like, oh, I can't do that because it's bad luck. You know, it shakes up life, the mundanity a little bit, to be superstitious.
Sometimes superstitions are just bred out of common sense, and it's gotten lost, like, why it is that we did that. Like, again, that's not a superstition.
Like ladders and umbrellas?
Well, I have a superstition where I don't like to, if I'm drinking water, I don't want to drink water while I'm walking through a doorway.
Okay.
Because one time I was doing that, and I bumped into my friend, and the glass hit my tooth, and chipped a piece of my tooth.
No, I don't know if that's superstition or just learning.
I know, but what I'm saying is if I just never do that, and I guess I would tell my kids, so my argument has holes in it. I was just thinking where like the reasoning for it got lost over time, but we still do it. And it's like that actually had merit at one point, but now we're calling it superstitious.
But that is also just common sense to not drink while you walk.
Well, sometimes I pour myself a glass of water. I'm going somewhere and I'm thirsty. I'm not waiting until I'm
going to the bus stop.
Going to my room. Just my room.
Use sparingly.
Well, like if I in the morning I want to go outside and have a smoke and I pour a drink to have, I will have a drink and I'll be walking towards the door because I'll be thirsty for that drink. I have a sip, and then I get to the door and I stop, and I finish my sip consciously, pass through the threshold, then resume sipping. Never to do, and there's nobody in front of me at that time, but I just...
So this is out of nowhere, but I just envisioned you walking and sipping. So there was one time I was at the pump house, and like there's this creepy dude that used to go. I don't know what his name is anymore, but he would like run his finger over my back as he walked by, and I would just be like, ew. This is before I was brave enough to be like, fuck off.
Yeah.
But anyway, there was one time he like tapped me on the shoulder, and I looked over at him, and he's like drinking from his mug, and he's like eyeball fucking me, like just staring me in the eye as he drinks, and I'm like, all right, Jason. I was like, all right, Jason. Mm-hmm. Well, I look away because I'm not going to just look at this guy drinking his beer. He taps me on the shoulder again as he's still drinking. Like, fuck off, Jason. I don't want, like, you're not... What do you want me to do here? Like, he was just a weirdo. Nothing to that story, but just me thinking about you walking and drinking and, like, keeping your eye out, like, not just reminding me of that guy just looking at me real weird. Like, just... I don't know if he was trying to seduce me.
Yeah.
But it was... Well, he was just an odd duck.
there's weird ways to sip, and you should be...
without eye contact is the best way to sip, I find.
There's rules.
But it wasn't even sipping. Like, he had his mug up in the air. Like, anyway, but...
Up in the air?
Like...
Chugging.
Like, he was... not even... like
drinking it.
Well, I would... Yeah, I don't know. It was really slow if he was chugging. But... It was just odd. I didn't focus... Maybe time stood still for a second, and it wasn't that long. But I was just like, why is this man tapping me on the shoulder, trying to engage in conversation when he's obviously ingesting liquids? Like, anyway. Mm-hmm. Kind of like if I tapped you on the shoulder and then, like, just looked at you as I was cutting my steak. Or, like, putting it in my mouth. That would be weirder, but...
He basically needs to go to my school of, like, when to and when not to sip.
Yeah.
I think
his superstition should be not to be fucking creepy.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he has a superstition where he can't sip if he's not fucking somebody.
It's a prerequisite.
Alright, I got my drink now. Let me go creep somebody out so I can...
On that note,
fucking drink this.
166, the final question of the episode. If a deity exists, would it exist within our understanding of morality?
Fucking...
When I first read the question, when I first read it, I thought it said mortality. I was like, then it wouldn't be a deity.
No.
I would also say that no, the deity does not have to exist within our understanding of morality, because if it's a deity, it obviously has a higher understanding than us, and therefore it has a much more greater understanding and therefore can do much more, as any other being does. Like, I can do more than my nephew because, you know, I've been doing things a bit longer.
Uncle Tony, that's deity Tony to you.
Deity Tony to you. Like, well, this is just a very simple anecdote. Like, I'm going to be seeing my brother's kids a lot. I'm not going to let them play darts because I have a better understanding of how darts work. I'm tall enough to hit the board, and there's nothing safe about 6-year-olds fucking darts at a wall. Right? I have a greater understanding, therefore I'm not within their realm of limitations. And I know obviously their kids...
Within their understanding of morality.
Because
it's immoral that you're telling them they can't throw fucking darts.
You know what? Some people would probably say that. I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to let my 6-year-old, 5-year-old, through 4-year-old nibblings decide if they should throw darts or not. That's going to be like, you can watch Uncle Tony, or you can just understand that darts are there and you can never see it.
Yeah.
Well, not never see it, but...
When you grow of age.
Yeah.
Yeah. You earn these with time. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
wish she would have left off with a banger.
Well, I feel like a lot of people... So this is what I'm thinking, is that with a lot of... Like, and I get this a lot, is... Well, not a lot. Maybe I just envision fights on the internet in my head. But you have people being like, well, if God is omnipotent, then he can't be omniscient, and they really prescribe God to a human sense of morality, and it's just like, you don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, he is of a greater calling.
Yeah, why doesn't God heal my sick cat? Like that,
because
under that notion?
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, if God exists, why do bad things happen? Well, to that, if you're talking in a purely Christian sense, I point you back to, I don't know, fucking Genesis, like, because sin entered the world. But if you're dealing with it on a, like, even without the Christian myth, like, well, because they're God, like, and they obviously have a greater understanding of what needs to happen, or you're not important enough. Like, if you really want to get down to it. Now, I'm not saying that. I think that, you know, because I believe in God, we're all important. It's just that his plan might... Like, there might be a necessity for bad things to happen because it sets in motion. Like, it's not that he doesn't love you, but he has a purpose for you or a design. Yeah. Doesn't mean that everything that happens to you is fucking tickle parties and rainbows.
Well, I always like the idea that God doesn't speak because it's better when you learn it by yourself.
Well, that's the whole basis of faith, right? Because, and that's why I think, like, you had these... like in the Old Testament, you had God displaying his power and being like, he kind of set the stage, like, this is what I can do, this is going to be written down. And then it wasn't really a faith-based society then. Well, then Jesus came and died, and then it was faith-based, because it's like, if I just come and show you what I can do, that's not faith. You're given empirical evidence. Oh, he can open the ground underneath me and swallow an entire tribe of people. That's not faith, that's fear. That is nothing but fear, right? Like, the concept of God is he wants us to love him because we love him. Mind you, then people bring in the fire and brimstone, and that kind of sets that back. But it's you don't believe in him because because for a fact, like, oh, if I do this bad thing, God will strike me down. No, it's like they think thunderbolts. Mind you, pardon me. I think that there is. I think that you do see instances of divine intervention. There was my buddy sent me a video of this woman making fun of Jesus and then immediately fainting on stage. And it's just like, to me that is empirical proof. And this is what and my counter argument, which I know if I ever mentioned that and someone brought up, well, but she had low blood sugar or whatever. Yeah. And to my response to that is, so here's what I'm going to say. You have a God that is outside the realm of time, that created time, existence, matter, and everything. Mm-hmm. You're saying he can't snipe you from outside our dimension and make it look like an accident? Like, he can set up the cogs of time to turn eternally and to carry out his plan, but he can't make you faint. Like, it needs to be this miraculous thing. He can't just deny you your toast because you're too busy in the morning. That's not within his power.
It's like scientists turn God into the most brilliant criminal. Like, every time he shows up, they're like, nah, it was, this lady's low blood sugar. Yeah. And then God's just like, like, those idiots thought it was it wasn't me, it was the low blood sugar. Yeah, God's in the crowd like, it was the low blood sugar.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, that woman made fun of Jesus and then she fell straight on her face. Like, seems to me pretty, and, well, why didn't it happen another time? Maybe because he didn't want it to. Why does he have to be always consistent? Yeah. Anyway.
Maintain the mystery.
Well, again, it wouldn't be necessarily always acts of faith. Maybe, maybe God just wasn't having a good day that day, and he just got tired of that woman's particular shit. Like, I don't
need from you.
I don't want to humanize the Lord because I don't want to be, blasphemous. But, like, to me, like, you know what? Why not? Like, she didn't die. Like, just, that had to happen. Like, just shut up about my son. And on that note, dear listeners,
yep.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. I know that, we know that this episode got off to a bit of a slow start, but thank you for being here with me, with us. I know it's silly, but this is one of those things that forever I've said, when, I have a house, I'll smoke a pipe. When I have a porch, I'll smoke a pipe. And I'm really glad that I have a friend right here who has facilitated and encouraged me to take a step and to grow up and to embrace what I want to do. So this pipe to me means a lot more than just a way to smoke a substance. It's a step forward in my life. As trivial as it might seem, it's really something I'm excited about. So thank you for being here with me, with us. Hope you enjoyed the episode. I think this actually was a banger. I know that we kind of got lost with all the melatonin going on. But it was it's been a fun time. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you here again at Smugglers Cove.
Love you all.
Melanin. Did you say melanin?